Hello, welcome back to hyper-specific TouchDesigner topics not often discussed in tutorials. I was watching a friend work on a project on Discord recently, and she was trying to come up with good camera angles for a scene and was having a lot of difficulty working with the camera comps viewer because it is annoying and hard to use. But there's a better alternative. So today's video is about the camera viewport component because it's pretty great and seems like not a lot of people use it, and you should. This applies to basically any render setup in TouchDesigner. There's even a way to use it with RayTK scenes, though I'm not going to cover that in this video, but I did make a separate one about that a while back. So, check that out if you use RayTK, which you should because it's awesome. First, we'll make a super quick scene with some shapes and a kind of standard render setup. Then we'll try to use just a regular camera comp and see how unpleasant it is. And then we'll swap in a camera viewport component and it'll show you some of the features, and it'll even show you how to use it in your own custom UIs. Starting with a new project, clear out all the stuff that's in there by default, and then create a torus pop and drag from the output of that and hit tab, go to comp and create a geometry comp. And then we're going to create a box pop and do the same thing, drag from the output, hit tab, and create a geometry component. Then create a light component and a camera, that's boring regular kind, and then create a render top. And then hit the little display toggle on the bottom right here to show it in the background. On the first geometry comp, for the torus, just drop the scale down to like around 4.5. It doesn't have to be exact. And then on the second one for the box, hit the translate X to maybe like -1, just kind of stick it off to the side. And that's our scene. Beautiful, isn't it? This view is kind of boring, so let's try changing it. On the camera comp, activate the viewer with a little plus. And then in the viewer here, you can left drag to rotate the view, but notice how the render itself isn't changing at all. And it's only going to update when we let go of that button, and then it'll jump to the new position. We can also right click and drag to move the view around, and we can middle click and drag up and down to zoom in and out, or we can use the mouse wheel. But you'll notice that in all of these, it waits for you to be done with whatever that interaction is and then jumps to a new position, which is not great. Fortunately, there is a better alternative. Open the TouchDesigner palette using the button on the toolbar, the one that's like second from the left on the top there. Under Tools, find cameraViewport and drag that into your project. Then, to get the renderer to use this camera, we're going to drag that component onto the render top and then choose camera. So it's going to set that as a camera. And then we're going to take the render top and drag it onto the camera viewport and choose render top. So this will make sure that this little preview in here is linked up to that exact renderer and, using the right resolution and stuff. This component actually comes with its own little renderer inside it, but if you want to be using the rendering for other stuff, usually just link it up to an existing one. Then on the camera viewport component, activate its viewer, and we're going to try left dragging, and ooh, smooth update as it rotates. Very exciting. Actually usable. And we can do the left click and drag to kind of move the view around. We can do the middle click, drag up and down to zoom in and out, and it's all smooth and stuff. So what is this amazing thing that we're using here? This is actually a regular camera comp, and you can tell because in the parameter dialog, it says camera there, and it's got that row of pages of parameters for kind of standard camera stuff. But for most of the parameters here, for the transforms and stuff, they're going to be locked up. And that's because it's internally using like interactions in the little viewer to control that instead of setting it manually with parameters. It's also got some other nice features in it. You can right click in the viewer to get a few different kind of pre-made views. And you can even change between different types of interaction. So, rotating the camera on its own versus like doing something equivalent to moving the camera around whatever object you're viewing. I tend to go with the viewport mode, but, depends what you're trying to do with it. There's even a setting on this to do auto rotate. So on the second row of pages here, click camera, and then we've got auto rotate, switch that on. And then if you start rotating it and then let the mouse go, it will continue spinning in whatever direction you started it moving. And you can stop it by just having the mouse kind of like stationary when you let go of the button. So if it's moving fast enough, it'll spin. If it's not moving fast enough, it'll just kind of hold. You can even customize the mouse interaction on the buttons page here. So you could swap around which mouse buttons do which thing. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but you can if you want. And you can control like how fast all the movement happens and everything like that. It even supports a 3D mouse if you have one of those. So like Space Mouse is one of the most common. You can use that as a way to control that viewport. It even has keyboard interaction. So on the keyboard page, you can switch on WASD keys. And then if you click into the viewport, just to kind of put focus there, you can use those keys to move around like you would in a game. It even has a preset feature. So on the presets page here, you can hit set and it'll kind of record a particular view. And then you can add more presets. So if you want to like change the view to something else and then hit set there, you can recall them immediately using the go buttons. You can also blend smoothly through them in sequence using this sequence parameter. So right now it's just going between 0 and 1 because those are the only presets that we have set up. But you could do out a whole sequence there if you want. You can even connect this component up to a container comp to use it in your own custom UIs. I set up some components here just as a way to demonstrate that this can be part of a larger interface. I'm not going to get into details of building out all of that. I did do a separate video series on making your own UIs though, so recommend checking that out. For your purposes, just create a container comp. To get the comp to display the image, we're going to take our render top, drag it onto the container comp, and then choose background top. And then to get the camera viewport to listen to interactions on this component, we're going to take the container comp, drag it onto our camera viewport, and choose panel comp. Then to get the full range of types of interactions that the camera viewport tends to use, go over to the panel page on your container comp, and then switch on middle and right mouse buttons, and then also use mouse wheel. So that way it will expose that information so that our viewport can use it. Then you can right-click your container comp and do view to open a viewer, although I'm going to open this parent component here. So once we have that set up, we can do everything that we can in the regular viewer there. We've got all the nice features of the camera viewport, and it's embedded within our own UI. And that's basically it for camera viewport. It's a drop-in replacement for any camera comp because it actually is a camera comp. It just has like extra features added to it. The one big downside to it is that undo and redo don't work for changes that you make to the view, using the viewport. But you can use presets to save particular views and come back to them later. So worth it, in my opinion, at least in most cases. Let me know in the comments if you found this helpful or if you have particularly strong opinions about this component or, if you just want to say hi. I like getting comments. If you want to support me making more of these, consider subscribing to my Patreon. You'll get early tutorial access and, scene file downloads and Discord and other stuff like that. Anyway, thanks for watching and make sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment letting me know how this totally changed your life forever, hopefully in a positive direction. Bye.